Well, good morning, guys. It's a little bit drizzly outside right now, but the temperature is nice. It's in the 50s, going to the 60s this afternoon. Not a whole lot of rain expected. And I'm getting ready to take a trip, a little road trip here to go pick up my new enclosed trailer. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to do one more fuel economy test on this new Gen 3 EcoDiesel, because I've got a little over 9,000 miles on it now, and I've towed with it several times this year. So the engine should be getting seated in, should be getting broken in now, and it should be settling into where it's going to be as far as fuel economy goes. So I'm going to take it to town, fill it up with diesel. We're going on a 130-mile trip to the dealership where the trailer is. It's going to be all highway, 55 to 70 mile per hour highway. And so it's going to be interesting to see what kind of fuel economy this thing gets now. I will say that I do have the mud tires on here, a little bit more aggressive tire. If you've seen those Milestar Patagonias, they're similar to the Goodyear Duratrac. So basically the way this truck is set up, you know, if you imagine a Rebel, if you got the Ram Rebel with the diesel engine, this is basically what you would have. Because the tires I've got on here are just slightly taller than the stock tires, and they're slightly more aggressive. Other than that, it's completely stock, so it's going to be a good representation, I think. So here we go. All right, so I got the tank filled up all the way. And now I'm going to go down to the trip info. And we're going to reset the miles and the fuel economy. And here we go. So a couple of things I'll mention while we're cruising down the road here. You can see that I'm running my air pressures in the upper 30s. I just got started on this trip, so as the tires heat up, that'll go up a little bit. It'll probably end up somewhere around 39 or 40 PSI. And the reason I'm doing that, this truck came with 32-inch all-terrain tires on it, and the door jamb sticker says to run them at 32. And I noticed that some guys that have the Rebels, those trucks with the Goodyear Duratrac tires, I think the door jamb sticker shows that you should run those at about 50 or 51, somewhere in that ballpark. So obviously, which tire you're running makes a huge difference. I've just decided to kind of go in between the two and stick around 40 PSI warm. I thought that would probably be the best thing to do. So just FYI on that. Also, I am running the Hot Shots everyday treatment. You know, I've still got a half a bottle of that stuff left. Might as well use it. It's late November, so they are selling the winterized diesel fuel around here right now. So anyway, I'm running the Hot Shots EDT treatment with my fuel just to kind of improve the quality of the fuel a little bit. So other than that, nothing else really to mention. Cruising down the road here at, I've got the cruise set at just a hair below 70 miles an hour. The speed limit on this part of the highway is 70. Some of the highways I'm going to be on are 55. So pretty average for what you're going to see in the US. Let me go and see where we're at right now. Looks like right now it's showing 23.7 miles per gallon. And if you've been following the channel, you've heard me say before that the entire 9,000 miles I've been logging my mileage on this truck. What I've noticed is that the dash display is always 1 mile per gallon optimistic. Sometimes it's a little more, like maybe 1.25 or something. But what the dash shows me is always optimistic. So like right now it's showing 24. Realistically, I'm getting 23 when I do my hand calculation. So we got to keep that in mind as well. I'm going to be interested to see how this turns out. I did this once before when the truck was new, and I got mid-20s out here on the road. You know, a lot of guys are talking about these things being 30 mile per gallon trucks. I can tell you right now, this one's never going to see 30. And if you look on Fuely.com, where real world owners log their mileage by hand, you've got tens and tens of thousands of miles combined that have been documented in there with this new EcoDiesel engine in the Jeeps and in the Rams. What you'll see is that low 20s is the norm. There's maybe a handful of people that are getting 30, but the average guy is not going to see 30 miles per gallon out of these trucks in your day-to-day driving. Just not going to happen. Like I said, mid-20s is the best I've seen on the highway so far. Right now I'm getting 23. We'll see what it ends up being when we get down here to Bowling Green. We've still got a long way to go. But I do think it's kind of interesting to watch the scan gauge on this engine. I mean, we're cruising down the road here and it's cycling between 4, 5, 6, there's 7 pounds of boost. We're getting ready to pull up a little bit of a hill right here. And it'll probably go up around 20. 17. It's going to hold up around 16, 17 pounds of boost. But I mean, obviously, you know, it's changing rapidly on the fly there on the scan gauge. But you know, it seems like on the level stretches of road, it'll run about 2 or 3 pounds of boost. We're getting ready to level out a little bit right here. And again, we're at about 70 miles an hour. So it's going down a little bit now, down around 5, decreasing. But the other thing is you can see the turbo temperature in the top right, 873 degrees. When I pull up the long hills, it'll run 900, 950. And of course, I don't have the trailer yet. But when I tow, I can see the turbo temperature go up around 1100 degrees. I've never really seen it above 1100, but it'll definitely hit 1100 on the hills when you're towing. And the maximum boost is about 22.7 according to the scan gauge. So right at 23 pounds of boost is apparently where they limited, you know, in the powertrain calibration, that's where they limited the turbo, is at 23 pounds. So that's the most I ever see, just below 23. And I can't compare that to the Generation 2 engine that was in these trucks up until 2019. I can't compare it to that, but I assume that the boost is a little bit greater in these Gen 3 engines. That may be how they're getting the extra power out of them. Again, I can't confirm. I'm just guessing there, but it would seem to make sense that if you add just a little bit of boost, that you can get that additional power that they put in these Gen 3s. So, I don't know, but anyhow, if you got one of these new EcoDiesels, the scan gauge is a super cool tool because you can see all kinds of things. You can see my regen status. In the lower right corner is the soot load on the DPF. The camera's not focusing properly, sorry about that. But you can monitor the status of your particulate filter, whether or not you're doing a regen, what your boost level is, turbo temperature, DPF temperature, catalyst temperature. There's all kinds of things that you can monitor with this. So anyhow, you can see we're going downhill now. It's 2.3 PSI. Anyhow, I just thought that was kind of cool. It's 59 degrees outside. Like I said, it's going to be a really nice day. So I'm running this trip without the HVAC on. I've got the HVAC controls completely off. We're 35.6 miles in, and I'm hand calculated I'd be getting 23 miles per gallon so far. So pretty much what I expected. I think I failed to mention that I did calibrate my speedometer. I do have a Taser programmer, and I have verified with GPS that my speedometer is spot on. So, you know, just FYI there. So we are 87 miles into the trip now, getting 23 and a half hand calculated, showing 24 and a half. Still right there on the money, you know, where I'm always at. So no surprises so far. Been a purely interstate run, going down Interstate 65 right now. And the interesting thing about it is from Elizabethtown down toward Bowling Green, the general grade is going downhill. It's very, very gradual, you know, and Elizabethtown's like 800 feet above sea level. Bowling Green's like 600 feet. So you're decreasing in altitude about 200 feet over 130 miles. So it's a very gradual, you know, downhill run, but it averages out to be downhill nonetheless. So that makes this even more interesting. All right, guys, I finally made it to Bowling Green, and I immediately pulled over to a station that sells diesel right at 130 miles like I expected, just under 2 hours on the road. Dash is showing 25. I'm guessing this is going to work out to about 24 miles per gallon, hand calculated. Looks like I used almost a quarter of a tank of diesel. So let's top this thing off, do some calculations, and see where we're actually at. Give it just a moment here and squeeze it one more time. Yeah, I think that's going to be all she's going to hold. All right, 5.6. All right, so if you do 129.7 miles divided by 5.6 gallons of diesel fuel, that's about 23.2 miles per gallon, hand calculated. So actually the EVIC up here, the dash display, was 2 miles per gallon optimistic this time when I did my hand calculation. So like I said, this dash display is always optimistic. It always makes you feel good, but it's not realistic in these trucks. All of the gas trucks I've had from all the different brands have always been accurate. This one for some reason is not. But anyway, there you go. Unloaded, 130 miles on the interstate, 23 miles per gallon hand calculated. So now it's time to go pick up the trailer and watch the MPGs plummet on the way back home. I'll be back in a little while. So there's the new trailer that I'm picking up today. They're doing a PDI inspection on it right now, swapping out the wheels for me. But that's it. Pretty sharp looking trailer, I think. All right, just hooking everything up, checking my tires, making sure everything's good to go. This one's obviously quite a bit bigger, 8.5 by 24. Plenty of room to put 2 side-by-sides in here and whatever else we want. Cars, Jeeps, whatever. Got some 5,200 pound axles under this one, so this should be a good trailer for me for a long time. Be interesting to see what kind of mileage we get with the EcoDiesel on the way home now. I'm gonna guess 12, but we're gonna see. All right, time to make the trek back home. Another 130 miles with the trailer this time. I'm gonna take a guess, say we're gonna get 12. Let's reset everything here and head down the road, and I will update you later. All right, quick update. I'm pulled over into a rest area. I'm gonna check the lug nuts on the trailer, but real quick here, I'm 37.7 miles into the trip. Dash is showing 11 miles per gallon, so hand calculated, I'm probably in that 9 mile per gallon ballpark. Keep in mind, this enclosed trailer is 3,600 pounds, so it's a fraction of the weight that this truck is rated to tow, and it's completely empty. So this is pretty dismal to be getting 9 miles per gallon out of this diesel out here on the highway with an empty trailer. Temperature 66, so it's perfect, no wind. This is pretty much ideal conditions, guys, and I'm getting 9. So I'm thinking once I load this trailer up, gosh, I'm gonna be way down in the single digits. Starting to think that maybe a Cummins diesel is in my future, but anyhow, quick update there. Just wanted to let you know about that. Yeah, so I'm gonna go back here and check the lug nuts on this trailer. They said to check them at 100 miles. I'm gonna go ahead and do it because there's a rest area here convenient. I'll do it again when I get home, but just to be safe, you know, those guys, they swapped out these wheels. This trailer had the fancy alloy wheels on it, and I didn't want those. I wanted steel wheels to save money and because they're just lower maintenance. So they put these on there for me right before I left. I'm gonna go check the lug nuts real quick, but anyhow, next update will be when I get home. I'm not gonna fill the truck back up because we've already seen, you know, lots of proof here that the dash display is 1 to 2 miles per gallon optimistic. So we can just look at this display, subtract 1 or 2 from it, and know what I'm getting. So I'll bring another update here in just a little while when I get farther down the road. But for now, go back here and check these and get on down the road. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and make this my final update because I'm almost 100 miles into the trip, and the the truck is pretty much settled into what it's going to do. Dash is showing 10.2, so hand calculated I'd be somewhere between 8 and 9 miles per gallon. That's pretty much just where it's going to be. Now, one thing I did have to do is I had to lock out 8th gear because what was happening is I'm getting into some roads now where it's a little bit more hilly. I got some more hills and valleys, and the truck tries to hold 8th gear as long as it possibly can when you're going down a hill and then you start going back up again. You know, peak torque on this engine is like 1600 RPM, and that's pretty much right where 8th gear puts you. So it tries to hold 8th gear as long as it can, and it'll lose like 8 or 10 miles per hour on the speedometer before it'll finally downshift. So it's kind of annoying, and I'm sure it's really annoying to the people behind me. And then once it does finally downshift, it's lost so much momentum that it has to go all the way down to 5th gear, and then it takes off like a rocket ship, and then it'll go back to 8th gear, and it just starts all over again. So it shifts a whole lot more. So I locked out 8th gear, and it's running in 7th a lot of the time now. And what I've noticed is it's able to keep its momentum a lot better, so it never has to downshift to 5th. It'll go to 6th on the hills and 7th otherwise. So it's doing a lot less shifting this way. So locked out 8th gear, 8-9 miles per gallon, something like that. Pretty dismal fuel mileage, to be honest. But that's the thing about a diesel. When you know, really not just a diesel, but any really efficient engine, gas or diesel, when you start getting into these engines that are super fuel efficient, unloaded, they're more sensitive to change. And so when you put a load on them, they lose a larger percentage of their fuel economy. I mean, this is a 50% hit just by hooking onto an empty enclosed trailer. Really big deal. So anyway, I'm gonna hop off here now, go find something to eat. But hopefully this is somewhat informative to you guys who are still shopping for the new Gen 3 EcoDiesel trucks. You're wondering what you're gonna get on your daily commute or what you're gonna get towing your trailer. Hopefully this will help you out. So appreciate you guys watching as always. Thanks. And if you got any questions, post them below. I'll try to get to them when I get a chance. All right, guys, talk to you later. Bye-bye.